Israel is a nation where Christians are constantly under attack in both Gaza and the West Bank. We talk about America first and defending Christians, but how can we do this if we align ourselves with a nation that does not do that itself?
There's no question my father's had frustration. In fact, I think he's had frustration throughout the whole conflict with both sides. At the same time, make no mistake, you have a nation that is chanting death to America every single day on the streets of Tehran. You have a nation that will develop a nuclear weapon, and you have a nation that will use that nuclear weapon against the Western way of life. There's no question about it.
One wonders, what is the effect of the social media and all the rhetoric that's out there that's so hateful and spiteful and anti-Israel? What is the ripple effect? Well, let's listen to this young man as he confronts these issues. Let's watch it together and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Kindly subscribe to this channel so a little bit of light will push away a lot of darkness.
I'd like to ask about your father's relationship with Israel. He's taken over $230 million from pro-Israel groups. During the summer against Iran, even though he advised against it, Israel still attacked Iran, and the U.S. still bombed on behalf of Israel. Your father's frustrations with Netanyahu have been made clear when he cursed on national TV over the situation. Israel has not been a great ally to the U.S. all the way since 1960 when they bombed the USS Liberty. Israel is a nation where Christians are constantly under attack in both Gaza and the West Bank. We talk about America first and defending Christians, but how can we do this if we align ourselves with a nation that does not do that itself?
There's no question my father's had frustration. In fact, I think he's had frustration throughout the whole conflict with both sides. At the same time, make no mistake, you have a nation that is chanting death to America every single day on the streets of Tehran. You have a nation that will develop a nuclear weapon, and you have a nation that will use that nuclear weapon against the Western way of life. There's no question about it. You have a nation that will use proxies around the world, whether it's Yemen, whether it's a lot of other ones, to inflict serious harm on this nation, and they don't hide it. They don't hide it. In fact, it's really interesting. About a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, they put out, the Ayatollah in Iran put out an emoji, like a little short video clip of a drone hovering over my father's head as he played golf. This was literally posted on the Ayatollah's, Twitter page, following my father around a golf course with a crosshair right on top of him, as if they wanted to assassinate him and as if they wanted to hurt him. Guys, Iran wanted to destroy our way of life. They wanted to hurt us. They wanted to inflict real pain. What I can tell you about my father is, in terms of Israel, he wants a peaceful Middle East. He wants peace around the world. He wants to end the killing. He did that with India and Pakistan. He did that, obviously, you saw what he did with Cambodia and Thailand. He's tried to stop every conflict because he's sick and tired of the death and destruction. So there have been times that he got mad at Netanyahu. There's plenty of times where he's gotten mad at Putin. There's times where he's been mad at Zelensky. And he uses all of that as a tool to stop pain and destruction and death of people that are our age, your age in most cases, who have become political pawns and who have been marched into literally trenches and killed by the millions. And that's what my father wants to see end right this second. And that's why he's worked so hard for peace around the world. In fact, Donald Trump is the only president in the United States history that's never brought America to war. And I hope he keeps following in that crusade.
In response to the nukes from Iran, Israel has nuclear weapons and is not a part of the IAEA, unlike Iran. And it's just sad to see, because I've never seen the American president get treated the way he does by the Israeli government.
Here's what I'll add. Do we or do we not have phase one of a peace agreement in the Middle East right now? Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but I'll tell you what, this president works with what he has. He believes in peace through strength. And whether we're talking about in the Middle East, whether we're talking about a 40-year war like Armenia and Azerbaijan, as Eric just pointed out, a 5-day war in Thailand and Cambodia, this is a president of peace. And sometimes you have to be slightly unconventional with how you get there. You use what you have. That is certainly what he's been able to do. And I would just say peace around the world sounds pretty good to me, and that's what this president is bringing.
Peace through strength. That is the only language that truly works in the Middle East. These 2 years of war that began on October 7, 2023, this was a war that Israel did not ask for. This was a war that Israel did not want. This was a war that a group of terrorists, some 3,000 terrorists, breached a sovereign country's border and savagely, hideously, barbaric attacked civilians. Mercifulness, regardless of age, regardless of gender. They just took children, tied them together and burnt them, decapitated them. How can we unsee the picture of Mrs. Bibas clenching her 2 beautiful redheads as she's been taken away to the dark tunnels of Gaza, only for her kids to be killed by the hands, literally, physically, the hands of these Hamas barbaric subhuman beings. Yes, this was the most difficult war Israel has ever had to fight with. Any other country who would have been faced with the same threat, they would have annihilated, literally, they would have carpet bombed the whole Gaza within 24 hours, and Gaza would be no more. Any other nation would have done that. Now, they have done that. We know how the Britain ended World War II, what happened in Dresden, what happened in Berlin, what happened in Japan, what did America do to end the war? Sometimes peace through strength. But Israel was fighting a war with one hand behind its back. Why? Because it values life. It values life of its hostages that were in the dark tunnels of Gaza, and it values the life of the civilians that are not combatants that are in Gaza. Israel had to fight a strategic war, a guerrilla type of warfare, where the enemy was dressing like civilians just so they could rank up the number of civilians being killed in crossfire and in collateral damages. West Point has bragged and saluted Israel for the ratio of civilian casualties compared to its combatants. Never in warfare before has the ratio been so little. But yet the world is so quick to criticize Israel for prosecuting this war the way it did. And they have such short memories. Don't we remember when Israel dropped leaflets on Gaza notifying the civilians that were coming in, asked them to evacuate so that they're not caught in the crossfire? What other warfare does that happen? That after your attack and you're trying to eliminate your aggressors, your combatants, that you let them know ahead of time that you're coming? What other country provides food, water, gas, electric during a war to your enemy so your enemy could be well enough to fight you? That is nonsensical, it's absurd. But that's what Israel has done. Israel's warfare has held itself in a much higher moral standards than any other war. War is terrible. No one wants war. But let's not forget, Israel did not start this war. And don't give me any of this, that Gaza has been under siege and Gaza is the world's biggest prison. No. 2005, August 15, Israel left Gaza. Israel had zero presence in Gaza. They were left alone to be looked after by the fellow Arab countries. Ask Egypt how they helped the Palestinians in Gaza. Ask Libya, ask Syria, ask Iran. You know what Iran did for Hamas, for the Palestinians? They gave them arms to fight us. In 2005, the Palestinians had a great opportunity to develop a country, a state. They could have built Gaza into a Riviera, like a French Riviera. It's a beautiful coastal real estate. They could have built resorts and airports, shopping centers, an industry, schools, hospitals, houses of worship. They could have created Gaza to be nothing less than the United Emirates. They had all the opportunity. They had billions of dollars to do that. Ask yourself the question, why didn't they? Israel had nothing. Israel was gone. There's not one Israeli allowed into Gaza. Yet, they still consider that Gaza was under siege. Under siege by who? Israel was done. Israel gave Gaza away, which was a colossal mistake. And the way we know it is because look at October 7. We thought land for peace was going to be the answer. Obviously, there is no answer. Until they stop with their terror and until the death cult is dismantled and they begin recognizing Israel's right for existence and they come in peace, then Israel's going to have to continue to fortify its borders, to secure its borders, to make sure October 7 doesn't happen again. The pictures that are coming now out of Gaza are devastating. But Hamas brought it onto themselves. They could have ended the war on October 8. If they would have released the hostages on October 8, the war would have ended and Gaza would have never have had to endure the war that it endured for 2 years. They prolonged it by every day. And for some reason, the United Nations and the world wasn't condemning Hamas and forcing Hamas to release the hostages so the war can end. The protests and the marching in the cities, calling Israel genociders, baby killers. This could have ended October 11. Not one baby would have been killed. No genocide, as they're proposing, happened would have ever even be on in the dictionary. If Hamas would have A, never attacked us, B, released the hostages right away, the war would have ended. This blood is on the hands of Hamas. It's on the blood of the countries and the United Nations who did not force Hamas soon enough to release the hostages. Only when did Hamas capitulate? Only when they were on life support, when they were practically annihilated, when Israel tried to get peace with force. And don't blame Israel, because Israel is the victim here. I hope you see that, and I hope you appreciate that and realize what Israel has been through. Israel always wants to come in peace. For 77 years, since 1948, every war it's fought was a war of defense. It never, ever, ever targeted civilians. In comparison with the Arabs and Palestinians, they only targeted civilians. Blowing up pizzerias in the middle of Jerusalem, blowing up restaurants, blowing up buses, suicide bombers, ramming people, innocent people, all civilians. October 7, all civilians. This is the difference between light and darkness. This is the difference between good and evil. I hope you choose to side with evil. God loves you. God bless you.